Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm here today with part 7 of my Top 100 Side 1 Track 1 ranking series, and I'm delighted to say that I'm now looking at numbers 40 to 31 in the top 100. So we're definitely moving on up, aren't we, with that chart. So this is a series that I've been recording on and off for some time now at the point of recording today. And I just want to again say a huge thank you to everybody who's tuned in to date, to all of you who've taken the time to post comments, to engage with each other within the Vinyl Sanctuary community, and also to be sharing your top hundreds as well as we've been playing along. So the songs have been amazing that I've been seeing from various contributors. They've given me a great opportunity to reconnect with old favourites and also to discover a lot of new songs as well. So that's been a very richly rewarding result from the series as I put it together. So I've been really happy with that. And for people that might be tuning in to me here today for the first time and maybe ascertaining what I've been doing, what I've been up to, you can check out parts 1 to 6 of the series by going into the description section of this video, and you'll find the links there to the videos that I've recorded up until this point. So you can just get up to speed with what I've been doing. And part 1 in particular explains a few rules and regs I put on myself as to how I went about going through over 1,500 albums in my vinyl collection, studio albums it had to be. That was one of the key rules. And then how I went about choosing from that bunch my top 100 favourite opening songs on albums. So and then I went ahead and attempted to rank them as well. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's taken some time to do it, but it's been worth every second of it, every minute. So it's been a lot of fun, and continuing to enjoy the process as we're eventually getting up into that hallowed top 10, so to speak. Okay, so I'll crack on now then with the songs we've got to investigate today, the ones I want to talk about. So please do sit back and relax. I do hope you enjoy the batch I'm going to talk about, and do let me know in the comments section your thoughts and feelings on what I show. You know, are these songs that you like? Are there any that you're not aware of? Maybe you don't like some of them. So you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, let me know in the comments, and I'm always up for a good, healthy, polite discussion. So we'll get cracking. Okay, so starting us off then today, which will be number 40. I've got a lovely song here, a great opening track to a great album from 1989. It is pretty much the clue. It is in the name of the group in terms of the music here that I'm going to be exploring. So it'll reveal itself very quickly. So I'll just show the artwork off of the album, and then we can talk about the track. So starting us off, then we have got the band Soul II Soul. Superb album, this one, and as you can see, it's called Club Classics Volume 1. There we go. It's the front cover, and there's the back. Great shot there. And the track is called Keep On Moving. So yeah, it came out in 1989. This is Jazzy B, who was a founding member of Soul II Soul, and along with Nelly Hooper, handles the production duties on this album. And Keep On Moving is just such a gorgeously recorded, rendered song. I love everything about it in terms of what it has to say lyrically. It's got a very relaxing tone and vibe and feel to it. Show you the inside here as well, so you can see the inner sleeve of the record. It's got these lovely string sections throughout. You know, it's all beautifully programmed, punctuated by these lovely tinkly piano parts as well. So for me, this is almost like just a very smooth kind of relaxing song that I would like to play, you know, maybe on like a Sunday afternoon. Like there was a couple of times when I was a lot younger, actually, when I've been out, you know, clubbing for the evening and stuff, and you know, getting home at the early hours of the morning and ready just to nod off to sleep. Oftentimes I put this album on, actually, and I probably or usually didn't make it past Keep On Moving, because I just drift off, because it's just got such a lovely dreamy sort of hazy quality to it. There's another song actually in this batch that will be coming up a bit later that has that same effect on me, but doesn't sound in any way like Keep On Moving, and inhabits a different musical genre as well. So yeah, the primary, or well, the vocal performance on it is by Karen Wheeler, who was once part of the singing group Aphrodisiac, and they had actually featured on, from memory, the album Punch the Clock by Elvis Costello and the Attractions, so that they'd done some singing work on that, amongst other projects as well. But that's just one that I do call to mind, because I've spoken about Punch the Clock on the channel before. So she's got a very smooth voice, Karen. It's powerful, but it's gentle as well. It's very much delivered in keeping with the tone of the track. You know, it doesn't overpower the track. It just keeps things nice and low key. Very similar in a way, I suppose, to how Sade used to perform on her songs as well. So, you know, Karen Wheeler and Sade do have different singing voices, but the comparison that I'm making is that, you know, when you've got a song like Keep On Moving or Smooth Operator, for instance, in Sade's case, you want to ensure that your vocal is going to sustain the mood of what the song is trying to create and evoke. You know, you don't want it to kind of be too overpowering, and then it sort of maybe shatters or destroys the illusion of what the song is trying to achieve. So that's my take on it anyway. So you know, there's a lot of references in the lyrics to time, you know, talking about Hands of Time. Songs about references to yellow is the colour of sun rays as well. So it just has a very uplifting, quite a joyous feel to it, the song Keep On Moving. And it's just one that I've always gravitated towards. I've loved it from being a kid. I can't remember which family member of mine had this album in their collection. That this isn't that copy of the album. I'm not sure if my brother had it or one of my elder sisters had it, but I do recall it being in the house at some point when I was growing up, and that would have no doubt been when I would have first heard it, and you know, all the songs by Soul to Soul, such as Back to Life and things like that. So this is a really great album from the late 1980s. If you're looking for some really smooth soul, you know, with a bit of an urban sort of groove to it. Like I mentioned before, great production work on it. Just sounds very crystal clear, beautifully done. Not a note wasted. Everything just sounds very precise. You know, surgical precision, and a really big hit for the group as well. Then please do check out Keep On Moving by Soul to Soul. So that's a really lovely way to get us started with this batch of songs today. Okay. So yeah, we're moving quite. We are going to keep on moving with what I've got to show. But the song here now is a bit of an outlier, really, in the batch. There's no other artist quite like him. The song itself is extremely sparse. It's I think it's just got one overdub on it. To be honest, it's just one person accompanying himself with an acoustic guitar with very muted, quite dead sounding strings. So that gives it a very sort of a unique flavour and tone when you listen to the song. It's not, you know, the strings don't sound bright or sharp or new. They sound very old and blunt, and that kind of lends itself a bit to this very muffled, kind of muted atmosphere that the song conjures up. So the next track I'm going to be talking about is Pink Moon by the artist Nick Drake, and the name of the album is Pink Moon. So my copy of Pink Moon, released in 1972 originally, I have as part of this box set called Fruit Tree. So that's why I've not immediately took it out yet, because this is it's an old box set. It's quite fragile. So I'm just going to take Pink Moon out of the box now to show you the artwork. So this is a box set featuring all of Nick Drake's studio recordings, and then there's some rarities as well on a bonus record in here. So I am very pleased and very honoured and happy to have this in my collection. It was a beautiful present bought for me by my parents-in-law for Christmas, and I've pretty much played it on and off non-stop in terms of any chance I do kind of get to squeeze in, you know, a bit of Nick Drake and to listen to these beautiful albums. I always take the opportunity to do so. So I'm just going to work through now and get to Pink Moon, as that's the record of relevance today. I have shown this box set on the channel before, on at the time of recording. So there is other videos you can check out where I spoke about it. So here we go. I found it. We got Pink Moon there. There we go, 1972. So this was Nick Drake's final studio album. And yeah, the title track, as I mentioned, it is Pink Moon. So it's the opening track as well. So got that really, really arresting artwork there. I've always been very intrigued by that artwork. You can see that there for anybody who might not have seen the album before. But yeah, Nick Drake is somebody who he's worthy of all the plaudits, of all the acclaim that he's received over the years. Just an absolutely majestic musician, got a beautiful, beautiful singing voice, an extremely accomplished, incredibly talented songwriter, guitarist, arranger. But Pink Moon goes in a very different direction, the song Pink Moon and the album itself. So I'm not going to talk about the album in full because with this series, as people know who've been tuning in, I stick just to the opening tracks. So as I mentioned it as part of my initial commentary there, the song itself is just Nick on an acoustic guitar, and there is like one overdub where there's a very brief piano interlude. I couldn't even really call it a solo, really. It's more just like a little interlude, a few singular notes played, and then it continues. It's a very short song. It's very beautiful. It feels quite sad to me. It's got quite a melancholy vibe to it, but then there's also something quite comforting about the song as well. It's the type of song that whenever I call it to mind, I visualise myself kind of, sitting downstairs with the fire on, kind of wrapped up in a blanket, maybe sipping a glass of wine with the rain, hammering outside. It's just one of those records that you put on and it's quite an enveloping feel to it. It's something that gives you a bit of comfort. Although very sadly at this stage in Nick Drake's career and in his personal life, in his working life as well, he wasn't in a good place. So there is something to be said for that. He created arguably his masterpiece with this album. There's a lot of people that do consider Pink Moon to be his greatest achievement, but it's just such a great shame where Nick was at that point in his life, and very, very sadly, he was taken from us far too young, not that long at all after this had been released. So there is. I wanted to make a point of highlighting that just for anybody who may be new to Nick Drake's music, just to kind of give a little bit of an overview of the man himself, just a snapshot. But he is just a sublime artist and definitely warrants, as I said, all of the attention over the years that he's received. Gone from almost being like this cult artist to being, globally famous and known throughout all the continents. So yeah, a very, very special talent indeed. Pink Moon, it's kind of over as quickly as it begins in some ways. There's this lovely part in it where he just repeats the word pink, pink, pink over and over again, and he sort of descends in tone as he's singing it. That's actually my favourite part of the song. It's just this ping, 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 and it's just the way his voice continues to drop before he then repeats, the phrase Pink Moon again. Just beautiful. And throughout, the guitar playing is gorgeous. As I mentioned, played on these very sort of blunt acoustic strings, but just got a real warmth and texture to the track, given that it's such a sparse arrangement. So that is my next pick there, Pink Moon by the mighty Nick Drake, a wonderful talent, and please do check out that song. Of course, it goes without saying when I do these ranking videos, I would love it for everybody to check out all the songs which I happen to highlight. The reason that they're here is because these are songs that are very dear to me. So I recommend each and every song from 100 all the way up to my number one with, every sort of beat of my heart, if you will. These are songs which have lived with me and have been in my life for many, many, many years. But Pink Moon in particular is very special, and it was tricky as to where that one would eventually be ranked, but it did end up being at number 39. Okay, out of the 100. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so moving on then. So this next song is by an artist who is very, very difficult to categorise, in my opinion. He Operated in many different spheres of music. Started out as like a folk artist really at a very, very young age. I think he was still in his teens actually, I think, when he released his first album, or certainly when he was writing it and preparing it. So that was very impressive in itself. But then he went on to sort of take forays into the avant-garde, blues, jazz, lots of different areas really. I'm still continuing my journey with this artist. I've got a few of his albums now, but this album here in particular I've had for many years now. I picked it up in Germany on a trip to Bremen many years ago. I was so happy to see it, which is a little bit of a clue because it's that word happy is half the title of the album. But I was really happy to see it in store. I took a punt on it. I'd only heard a couple of songs by the artist at that point in my life, but I loved the front cover. The fact that it was released on Elektra as well was very tempting and a big draw for me because I've loved so many artists who've been on the Elektra label. So this track here is an epic. It's over 7 minutes long and it's just an absolute trip, and I love listening to it. This one's another Sunday afternoon listen for me, and would actually land or go along very nicely with the likes of the Soul to Soul and the Nick Drake, because up until this point all these songs do have a bit of a dreamy kind of hypnotic low-key quality to them. So coming up now then, the album is Happy Sad. The artist there is Tim Buckley. As you can see, brilliant photograph there of Tim Buckley, and the song is called Strange Feeling. There we go, look at that. Great front and back cover there. Just pick this up a second there, so records drop down. Make sure everything's all sorted out there. So yeah, Happy Sad. So this came out in 1969. I'm not sure how old this pressing is actually. It's got 71 written on the back, so this one is a fairly fairly old repress. I mean, it's not an original from '69, I don't think so, but a couple of years later from when it was originally released. I got it for a really good price as well. It's in lovely condition. There's the Elektra label there. And yeah, Strange Feelings. So I would say that at this point in Tim Buckley's career, he was definitely starting to branch out now into more experimental territory. So Strange Feeling, a good way for me to describe it in terms of the musical aspect of it. I actually always think of it's the type of music to me, and I'd be really interested if anybody goes away and listens to it or already knows the song, if they would agree with this opinion of mine. But I'm a huge fan of Twin Peaks. David Lynch is my all-time favourite filmmaker, and the music of Strange Feeling always makes me think of Audrey from Twin Peaks, Audrey Horne, the character played by Sherilyn Fenn, because Audrey had this sort of theme within the program. Like, she had her own little theme where there was sort of like these very slinky sort of double bass riffs appearing whenever she was sort of thinking about things or wandering about or having a bit of a dance, and there'd be like these quite shuffling percussive sounds, and like xylophones tinkling away and stuff like that, like really cool sort of very jazzy bluesy sort of instrumentation that was always used as like a kind of a motif for whenever Audrey was on screen. And a lot of the musical aspects of Strange Feeling, although this is like way before Twin Peaks, makes me think of Audrey from that program. I don't know if anyone else would agree with that, or they know where I'm coming from, but it makes sense to me. So you do get all this like sort of tinkly, twinkly sort of percussive elements going on. The bass work in it is very sort of slinky and loungy, very languid. It just sort of unfolds at this very sort of pedestrian pace, but in a beautiful way. And then you have got like, they do sound like xylophones and stuff tinkling away. Marimba, it could possibly be. Just looking at the personnel information here, yeah, marimba. It's just got these really lovely, like a very sort of liquid, free-flowing quality to it. And the song itself, as I say, goes on for like over 7 minutes. Just checking the runtime there, 7 minutes and 49 seconds. You've got Tim Buckley's voice, which is just, at turns it's like sonorous, other times it's like, sounds really sort of deep and quite sort of, not guttural, but just the way that his voice can soar and swoop, and it's just an instrument in itself. Just an amazing talent, Tim Buckley, a brilliant artist. Love all the albums that I've got of his at the moment in my collection. But Happy Sad, I would say, is my favourite of the lot so far, and I would put Strange Feeling as my favourite Tim Buckley song alongside Song to the Siren of all the songs that I've heard of Tim's to date. So yeah, if you're looking for something like a little bit sort of jazzy, a little bit sort of, something that will make your head sort of spin in a really positive way, then please do give Strange Feeling a try by Tim Buckley. And just on a side note, in case anybody's interested, my pet cat Raymond Reddington absolutely adores the song Strange Feeling. Whenever I've put it on and he's been sat chilling with me, he will just be stretching out and yawning away and scrunching his eyes up and having a really good. He sort of seems to kind of get a bit snuggly and cozy whenever he's listening to it. There's a few songs that have that effect on Raymond, usually acoustic-driven songs actually, but he does really respond to the sounds that are tinkling away in Strange Feeling. It just must be a very cat-friendly recording, certainly when it comes to my pet cat anyway. So I just thought I'd add that as a little bit of a humorous anecdote. So, okay, so lovely stuff. So great song, and I'm really happy to have had the opportunity to talk about that one. Okay, so coming up next then is a song that, yeah, I had a lot of difficulty as to where this was going to get ranked, to be honest, because it's such a powerful song. It's actually a heartbreaking song for me in a lot of respects. It's and I think that when I discovered more about the background of it and where this artist was in his life when these songs were being recorded, I think it just added to the overall feel of I suppose, like the gravitas of the songs and the album itself, and yeah, just a very heartbreaking and a very sad story with this artist. Very tragic in a way that with a lot of the sort of the story of Nick Drake, but this is a different thing again. That there may be some parallels there, but in other ways they couldn't have been more different. So this album was actually released posthumously. This didn't actually come out until 1992, but the songs were written, I think, during the kind of the mid 1970s. So the next song coming up is I Am the Cosmos, or I've also heard it pronounced Cosmos. I do think this singer pronounced it as Cosmos as well. That could be the American pronunciation, I'm not quite sure. I've always said Cosmos, but that's the name of the song. The artist is Chris Bell, and the album is also called I Am the Cosmos. So yeah, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to refer to it as I would say the word, which is Cosmos. So it's a stunning album. But I will be keeping to the opening track. So there's Chris Bell down there. So he was a founding member of the power pop band Big Star, a legendary band. If you don't know Big Star, please check them out. Formed with Alex Chilton, formerly of the Box Tops. This photograph here was taken, I believe, in Switzerland by his brother. So you can see that gorgeous scenery there. So there's the front cover. This is a repress, of course. This is not from 1992. And yeah, I'm going to attempt to spend a bit of time on the lyrics with this one, because I feel that that's warranted. So that's just the inside there as well. Yeah, lovely press, and it sounds great, this one. So yeah, what to say about it? So yeah, the opening lines of it are of the song is every day I try and get my own words out now. Sorry about that. Every day I tell myself I am the cosmos, I am the wind, but that don't bring you back again. So I've just said that from memory. So in summary, the kind of the background of this song, to me, the way that I read it, is that Chris Bell at this stage in his life was in a very dark place. So he'd had the band Big Star with Alex Chilton. He'd played on one album of theirs, which is the absolutely remarkable #1 record. He'd left the band. I think it was pretty acrimoniously. I think he felt that he wasn't getting the recognition that he felt he deserved, that, you know, for what he was putting into the band. I think he felt overshadowed slightly by Alex Chilton. So then he went off and did his own thing. But in that time, he had battles with heroin addiction. And I also believe that a lot of the mental health issues that he went on to experience were a combination of issues relating to his own sexuality, and also the fact as well that he was a born-again Christian. So there was a lot of conflict, from what I've read about Chris Bell internally, a lot of things that were giving him a lot of unease, a lot of upset, and then he was turning to substances as a way of, I suppose, trying to draw some kind of release or escape from what he was feeling. And that to me is utterly heartbreaking. It really is. He was an unbelievable talent, a phenomenal musician, a great singer, a wonderful guitarist, had a brilliant ear for a melody, for a hook, as all, you know, power pop artists do. Wonderful in the studio. I've read many times as well, you know, put his heart and soul into his recordings from an engineering recording perspective as well. He could do it all. And then very sadly, he was taken from us at the age of 27. He was in a car accident, and that was Chris Bell's story. So yeah, I do get very upset in a lot of ways when I think about Chris Bell, and in terms of the life that he had. I always try and take solace in the fact that he created and made this unbelievably beautiful music, but I can't help but feel something whenever I speak about him. There's other artists I feel like that with as well, Nick Drake being one of them. If I'd have spent a bit more time there talking about Nick as well, but I just feel, because in my opinion anyway, I think a lot more people know about Nick Drake arguably than they do Chris Bell. So I did want to put more of a focus on Chris Bell, just because of the fact that his music continues to be discovered. It continues to be highlighted, I suppose, within younger generations. You know, there's a lot of artists out there that have a lot of respect and admiration and love for Chris Bell's music. Certainly the music he made in Big Star, but also his solo material as well. So Beck, for instance, comes to mind. He has covered this song. Many other artists have attempted it as well. Going back to those lyrics there that I mentioned about him saying, you know, I'm the cosmos, I'm the wind. My interpretation of the song is that he's almost telling himself that he's almost transcended human form, you know, that he sees himself as not of this world anymore. And that is another way of perhaps him trying to cope with all of these, you know, this very sort of turbulent mixture of emotions and feelings that he had swirling around inside him. But then the line that he says, but that don't bring you back again, it's almost as if there's this resignation to the lyrics of no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he thinks that he's transcending his own human form, it still isn't enough for him to maybe reconnect with the person, you know, the subject matter, the person that he's singing about, or that it all seems like futile to him. Maybe it's just all too much. And I think because I take that interpretation from it, it's just an absolutely heartrending song. It's beautifully composed. I would say that it does technically fall into the power pop genre, but it doesn't have that sprightly sort of bright hookiness that you would expect from a power pop song. It's quite slow in tempo. Chris's vocal on it sounds very impassioned. It's almost got like a bit of like a breaking quality to it. You can really hear the emotion and the strain coming through in the delivery, and it's certainly not in any way affected or forced, you know, for the reasons I've just gone into. This was somebody who was in a lot of pain. The guitar work on it, as I mentioned before, he's a brilliant guitarist. There's a lovely guitar break in there, beautifully played, and it's quite epic in length as well. And he sings about his own emotions, you know, that just when I started to feel okay, you're on the phone. There's this sort of refrain in it as well where he's constantly singing about I'd really like to see you again, and he repeats that often throughout the song. I really want to see you again. I'd really like to see you again. He talks about he doesn't want to be alone. But then the absolute gut punch for me with this song, which is why I think it's so impactful, is that right towards the very end, as the song is fading out, as he sang repeatedly throughout, "I really want to see you again," he actually throws in, and it's kind of one of them. If you're not listening fully to it, you might even miss it. He throws in, "I never want to see you again." So after all these sort of declarations repeated throughout the song of, I really need this person, I want to be with this person, he just then sort of throws in this one of, "I never want to see you again." So that for me only serves to heighten the sort of the confusion and the contradiction and all this sort of emotional baggage that the poor man was experiencing at that time. So yeah, I have like a complicated relationship with the album, with the song, because there's so much pain to it, but there's also a lot of beauty to it as well. And I know that there's so many people out there that really do value and admire and love the work of Chris Bell, and I'm certainly one of them. And the amazing work he did in Big Star as well. So that's just my like sort of tribute, if you will, to Chris Bell. In a manner of speaking, I wanted to really shine a spotlight on such a beautiful song. It is, I would say, a bit of it is a classic. I think for anyone who's ever heard it, I've never met a person who's heard it who hasn't been affected by it or not thought it was this wonderful track. So for me, it's a song that I was very, very moved by from the very, very first time I heard it. So please do check out "I Am the Cosmos" by Chris Bell, and please do check out the band Big Star as well if you're not familiar with them. Okay. So I think I've got 6 left to go through here. Let's just check. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 6 songs left to go through in this part. So at this point in proceedings, just want to say thank you so much for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time tuning in to me. And I never know how long these videos are going to be, because I just turn the camera on and talk and just say what's in my heart and in my mind. So thank you for listening, and I'll crack on. Okay, so this next song is another beautiful song. Again, it's quite slow tempo, so there's definitely a bit of a theme here amongst this batch and within this sort of section of our top 100. I'm clearly gravitating as I'm going a bit higher up the charts to more of these slower numbers, although there's definitely a rocker later on, but we're not quite there yet with that one. So yeah, this one is a beautiful album opener. The song is called "Bachelor Kisses" by an Australian band called the Go-Betweens, and the album is called "Spring Hill Fair," and this came out in 1984. So yeah, "Bachelor Kisses" is an awesome song, beautiful song. I'm going to try and do the lyrics justice to that one now as well. But let's first of all go through the personnel here in case anybody's not sure who they are. So yeah, they came out of Brisbane, Australia. Brilliant 1980s alternative guitar group. Got 2 exemplary songwriters here in Robert Forster and Grant McLennan. Those 2 there. You got Lindy Morrison here on drums, and then Robert Vickers on the bass guitar here. So that's the cover. You can see nice big writing there for those tracks. You're not going to miss those. And then we've got the lyrics here for the songs. Okay, which I'll be referring to in a second while I talk about the song. So yeah, "Bachelor Kisses." So it's got a beautiful arrangement to it. This very sort of clean guitar line throughout, very simple, but very effective. Same could be said about the bass as well. It's one of those songs that kind of immediately creates a mood, although that mood doesn't continue throughout the rest of the album, but certainly as an opener for the record, it definitely draws you in. It's got an immediacy to the song, both musically and lyrically. It just gets straight in there. It's a Grant McLennan song, this one, "Bachelor Kisses." So this chap here, brilliant songwriter. He was, I would say, maybe the more melodic songwriter of the 2 in the Go-Betweens. Robert's work tended to be a bit more abstract, a little bit more experimental, but Grant possessed classic songcraft, great ear for a melody, and both of them were wonderful lyricists, very, very intelligent, very clever lyrics as well. So what I would say about "Bachelor Kisses" in terms of the subject matter, the themes of the song, at least the way that I interpret it. So I'm going to refer to the lyrics here just to refresh my memory. Although I've heard the song literally hundreds and hundreds of times, whenever you're on camera, you don't want to start trying to do things off the top of your head when you've got the words there to consult. So yeah, I'll try to, well, it'd help if I was looking at the right side, wouldn't it? Right, there we go. So yeah, I'll try to kind of go on my own for a moment before I consult the lyrics. So the way that I've always viewed the song is that Grant is singing about a lady who has been perhaps the the focal point or the recipient of love or attention or affection from men who are pursuing her with untoward intent. So what I mean by that is hollow gestures, hollow overtures, which is where I think Bachelor Kisses comes into it. So I think the point that Grant is making is that these men who are, because there's references here, which I'll get to in a moment, about, giving her a diamond ring, Bachelor Kisses on her brow, it almost feels like there's no real substance to those romantic overtures. It almost feels empty. And I think the line that really qualifies that interpretation for me is when he sings throughout the song, "Don't believe what you've heard, faithful's not a bad word." So that's always given me the impression that these men who have been pursuing the subject, the person or the object rather in this case, is because they are objectifying the woman, is that these are meant to sort of be wary of, to be cautious of. They don't have good intent. They're almost going to, they're going to continue to be unfaithful. They're doing it here, but they're going to go on and do it again. And plying or just giving some kind of a gift or something doesn't make that right or make that proper or fair or excuses any of that behaviour. So that's kind of what I take from it. Because of this other part of it as well, where it says hands like hooks, you'll get hurt if you play with crooks, which I think is almost like a warning from Grant to the woman. Just be careful what you're getting into here. You're going to end up getting hurt emotionally. You are going to be almost discarded or kicked to the curb at some point. So I think the lyrics of it are very powerful in that way, in that there is this sort of beware, cautionary tale to it, and almost as well to trust your own instincts, that it is okay to love, and to seek somebody who has got good proper intentions, who's going to take care of you in the proper way. So that's where I think Bachelor Kisses is coming from. Be very interested if other people go on to listen to the song, have their own interpretations of it, if they agree with what I have to say, if they disagree, maybe they think I'm partly right or whatever, please do let me know. But that's always what I've taken away from the song. But my favourite part of the whole song itself is it's got a lovely breakdown in the bridge from a musical point of view. Right before there's a very brief guitar solo, and the lyrics of that bridge are: "The arcade lights are hanging down, the rain surrenders to the town. The world of men don't mean a thing when all they give you is a diamond ring," which again is kind of the bit that I feel reinforces the interpretation that I take from the song. And then it just continues to repeat, "Don't believe what you've heard, faithful's not a bad word. Oh, won't you save these bachelor kisses now, therefore your brow." So I think the word bachelor here is being used in a way as almost like a bit of a slur, like a bit of an insult, not against bachelors in the traditional sense, but maybe just using it as a almost like an expression towards a man who's maybe like a bit of a cad, or someone who's a bit of a scoundrel in that way, in terms of the pursuit of the opposite sex, and I suppose emphasising or putting importance on gifts and hollow gestures, as I mentioned earlier, than actually something that's more stable and tangible. So that's my attempt there at sort of working through the lyrics of Bachelor Kisses. So, but musically, it's just a very, very appealing song. It's got like a little bit of a jangle to it, which I really, really like. And it just sort of floats by quite beautifully. It's got a gorgeous arrangement to it as well. So definitely wanted to speak about that song. And if you're not familiar with the Go-Betweens, then please do check them out, because they're a very, very special band indeed. a brilliant clutch of albums, produced during the 1980s. A couple of absolute masterpieces within their discography as well. So if anybody has felt, tempted to check them out on a deeper level, or to maybe reacquaint themselves with them following watching this video, then please do let me know. Okay. Right, so we are now moving over to the 1990s. Just for a moment or so before we go back to the 80s again for a bit, and then we go back to the 90s at the end. So we're going a bit of a 90s, 80s, 90s now. So this song here is by a duo. Beautiful song. I've seen it popping up in a couple of top 100 lists already that have been shared in the community, which was an absolute delight to see, because it is a beautiful song. And another very tricky one to rank in terms of where I wanted it to be in the 100, but that proved to be the case with all 100 songs, to be honest. And then the higher I'm going up here the chart, the harder it got in terms of trying to place them in some kind of order. So this one here, male-female duo, 1990s. I think people would already have guessed it by now. This song for me very much inhabits the dream pop genre. There is a slight sort of alternative rock feel to it, but I would put it in jangle pop, jangle rock, dream pop, to be honest. And the song is Fade Into You. The album is So Tonight That I Might See, and the artist, is Mazzy Star. Superb album, this one. Beautiful album from 1993. Fade Into You is for me an all-time classic. Beautiful song from the 1990s or any decade for that matter. So the duo themselves were Hope Sandoval. She was the vocalist, and then David Roback. He was accompanying her, and David Roback played a variety of different instruments, principally a guitarist, but David Roback had cemented his legacy in the world of music. Prior to Mazzy Star, he had been a founding member of the Rain Parade, who were part of the Paisley Underground movement over in California in the early 1980s. The Rain Parade were an absolutely stunning band. He then went on to have a project called Opal, which he started off with Kendra Smith, who'd been the bassist in the Dream Syndicate, another brilliant band. So by the time he got round to doing Mazzy Star with Hope Sandoval, he'd had a very distinguished career and had built up quite a name for himself in musical circles. But Fade Into You is just an absolute stunner. So let's get into the song. This is the other track that I was thinking of earlier when I was talking about the likes of Pink Moon and Drifting Off to Sleep as well, To Keep On Moving by Soul to Soul. This for me is like a real kind of come down, hangover cure type album. It's something that you can just put on. It's very soft, it's gentle, it's relaxing. It puts you into a really lovely kind of warm and fuzzy state. The vocals of Hope Sandoval are just so angelic, just beautiful voice. At times it's actually quite difficult to hear what she's singing, because the enunciation isn't always the clearest, I would say. I mean, that just might be how I hear them, and that's certainly no criticism. If anything, I actually think it serves to heighten the overall appeal and quality of her voice and the music. I think the whole aesthetic of Mazzy Star is that it is supposed to sound a little bit kind of woozy and a little out of focus and maybe slightly distorted, not distorted from a noise or a musical perspective, but almost like a distorted frame or picture or something like that, things sort of coming in and out of focus. So her voice really does lend itself to that quality. And then David Roback's guitar arrangement on it, very simple, just 4 chords strummed all the way through, and then there's this lovely slide guitar part that he incorporates into the arrangement as well. So a very stripped back, laid back vibe, very gentle. If you don't know it, please listen to it. It might be one of those songs where you actually have heard it and maybe don't realise you've heard it. There's quite a few songs like that are in my top 100. So yeah, you might be like, oh yeah, of course I've heard that one. But it is just a gorgeous song, timeless. One of those songs I think that would cross over to any music fan's kind of taste, whether you're into one type of music or not. I think a song like that, Fade Into You, I think it's just got incredible, endless appeal to it. So very, very pleased to be talking about that one as well. So that's Fade Into You by Mazzy Star. Okay, so we've got another female vocalist coming up now, one of my all-time favourites. She's an absolute genius, in my opinion, just a genius, amazing. I've loved her work for years and years and years, and this, for me, is it's certainly it's my favourite album opening track by this artist, because that's why I've chosen it. There was another one that was in contention actually from an album that came out a little after this one, but I ended up going for the one that I've gone for here just because of the relationship and the connection that I've got with the song. So this genius in question, in my opinion anyway, is Kate Bush. The album is Hounds of Love. There we go, from 1985. Brilliant cover, that brilliant shot. And the song is Running Up That Hill. And known by Kate herself, the original title for the song was actually A Deal With God. But she was advised by the record company to change that, and in case it caused any controversy, so she actually went with Running Up That Hill, and then sort of rendered it as like a subtitle really there, A Deal With God. But that, I believe, is how Kate herself still personally refers to the song, as like the proper title to it. So in my copy here, I've got a really nice copy of it. There we go, gorgeous photographs there of Kate Bush there with the hounds. Stunning. For a lot of people, this is Kate Bush's, masterpiece. This is like the pinnacle. For some people, I know other people that prefer other albums. I know quite a lot of Kate Bush fans as people who prefer The Sensual World. I absolutely adore The Red Shoes. That is an amazing, amazing album. Love that album so much. But the power and the quality and the brilliance of Hounds of Love can't be denied as an overall album. But let's just stick to Running Up That Hill as the opener. So yeah, it's a brilliant way to start the record off. It's got this very pounding percussive beat to it. It does again put you right in the mood of what's about to unfold. Kate's vocal on it has always been one of my favourite performances of her. She sounds very strong on it. The lyrical subject matter is very, very interesting. So my understanding of it is that it's like this kind of interpretation of, the aforementioned deal with God is in an intimacy setting, that she's talking about God swapping the places of the male-female experience. So having that opportunity to experience the intimacy, or love making from the other perspective. So if I only could make a deal with God, then I'd get him to swap our places. And then having this sort of then metaphor, that this refrain of running up that hill, running up that building with no problems. So I always found the subject matter very, very very, very interesting indeed. Very brave as well, in terms of going into something there that requires a lot of thought, but then being able to present it in such a commercially viable fashion as well. And again, that subject there, when I was talking about the theme, I think that very much comes into its own during the bridge as well. When she's singing about, come on baby, come on darling, let's exchange the experience. I mean, that's kind of the point of the song, where it's really kind of being laid out there what the deal is actually in reference to. So yeah, very interesting to have that perspective being put forward. How does it differ between one partner to the other? So yeah, musically, it's produced very, very beautifully. It's got some great synth work on it, programming on there. It is of its time. I mean, it is a very mid-80s sounding song, but that's certainly no bad thing. Especially if, like me, you are a huge fan of 1980s music and pop music in general. It does have like a pop quality to it, but almost like an art pop, I would say. I think it's quite cerebral and quite thought-provoking and multi-layered to maybe be considered as like just being like a pop song. And again, that I'm not saying that in any way with any hint of you know, dismissiveness or anything like that. I mean, a lot of my all-time favorite songs are so-called, you know, pop songs and confection type songs and throwaway songs. You know, I've heard a lot of songs that I'm into being described in all manner of ways, but this one I would say is more of an art pop song that just happened to have a lot of commercial clout and appeal to it. So a brilliant, brilliant song. Obviously got a huge lease of life, a bit of a resurgence. Well, a massive resurgence, not a bit of a resurgence, when it was used in a series of Stranger Things, obviously on Netflix. Won't give away too many spoilers about that in case people are, you know, maybe watching the show, catching up on the show, rewatching it, planning to watch it. But that song does feature very, very prominently running up that hill within a certain storyline in that program. So that was a massive, massive boon for Kate Bush, excuse me, because it brought a whole new generation of listeners to the door, and people then had the chance to start discovering who this amazing artist is. So Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush is my next pick there in this batch. So we'll move on. We just got the three left now. Okay. So yeah, this next one as well, lyrically, a lot going on to it. But I would say delivered with a very prominent dose of rather pitch black humour, or at least I would say it does anyway. So we're still in the 1980s for this one. So this came out in 1987. Excellent album by this group, one of my all-time favourite groups, coming out of Basildon in Essex. So big clue there already for people who know their Basildon bands. So we've now got Depeche Mode with the album Music for the Masses, and the song, the opening track, is the brilliant Never Let Me Down Again. So that's my next pick. Just about being ranked a little bit higher there than Running Up That Hill. Those two were flip-flopping a little bit for me. Love both of them so much, but Depeche Mode just about won out on that one. So there's the my lyric sheet there inside with a copy of it. Great stuff. So yeah, Never Let Me Down Again came out on Mute Records. You can see there, that's Daniel Miller's label, Mute. Yeah, so Never Let Me Down Again. I'm taking a ride with my best friend. I hope he never lets me down again. Okay, so they're the opening lines of Never Let Me Down Again in case people need that as a reference point. So the best friend in question here, this has been discussed a lot over the years, is in relation to substances. So I assume it's drug references, but it could also be alcohol as well. You know, just substance use in general, and the whole sort of the vibe or the message of the song is that you know these substances are being turned towards as a crutch. So you know, as a way of coping. Never let me down. You know, never let me down again. But the pitch black humour comes into it, in my opinion, where there it is, that line when he sings about yeah, I'm taking a ride with my best friend. I hope he never lets me down again. Promises me I'm as safe as houses as long as I remember who's wearing the trousers. So yeah, with that line, I remember being quite stunned the first time I heard that, because I went into this song actually knowing what the subject matter was. You know, I knew that he wasn't singing about an actual human friend who wasn't going to let him down, with the person singing being Dave Gahan, of course, of Depeche Mode. A brilliant performance by Dave Gahan on this one. So that whole line there about, you know, he won't let me down as long as I know who's wearing the trousers, meaning as long as I know who's in charge. So again, there's definitely like a cautionary tale there to that, in that, you know, it's okay in this opinion, or in this context with this artist, that they're pushing it, that they're, you know, almost dicing with danger, and, you know, dancing with danger there a bit. But as long as they know eventually what the consequences are, and you know, as was the case about 10 years later or so. Yeah, Dave Gahan was very fortunate indeed, in terms of that he had a near fatal overdose. So thankfully he was able to recover from that, and get strong and clean and healthy, and be able to take his life in another direction. So yeah, it's a cautionary tale, this one, in a lot of ways, but that I always felt that at the time when this was recorded, that was almost maybe their equivalent of a bit of pitch black humour, just to be putting in such a colloquial phrase like, just remember who's wearing the trousers, but singing about such an important and such a deep and heavy and very serious subject. I always sort of interpreted that, certainly when I was younger, as being like a very sort of typically British, quite a throwaway comment, but there's definitely an unease to that as well. Certainly as I've gotten older, you have to appreciate, that life certainly and things are very precious, and the things that you may do or that you may think you can do when you're younger and feeling invincible and on top of the world, these things you have to be very, very careful indeed. So that's kind of my lyrical analysis of that one. You know, talking about the substances as well being your best friend, you could certainly say is very, very sad as well. Very, very upsetting and distressing to think that someone was becoming so dependent on such things. So thank goodness, as I mentioned before, that's not the case now. So from a musical perspective, it's got a real drive to it. It's beautifully arranged. It's an excellent piece of work by the band members. So at this time, or this period of the band's existence, Alan Wilder was still in the group as well. And I really do feel like this was the album where Alan Wilder really put his mark over everything he touched, really, although that could be argued. He'd done that with Violator as well a little later on, Black Celebration, all the records and that he'd been involved with the group after joining them. But this song is it's very memorable, and that's one thing that Depeche Mode were always able to do. They were always very successful in balancing very dark subject matter with very well, I won't say bouncy, but very, very hooky, melodic musical accompaniment. They always had an amazing ability to do that. So they could be singing about something very, very deep and very despairing, but always able to marry it to something that's quite ear-catching. So that was quite a talent, and they repeated that over and over again throughout the career, certainly this stage of the career as well. And Never Let Me Down is a great example of that. So Music for the Masses as a whole is a brilliant album, but please do give Never Let Me Down a listen. Great performance, as I mentioned a little earlier on it, by Dave Gahan. His voice sounds rich, it sounds deep, as always, just a great tone to it. So from that perspective, if you're a fan of Dave Gahan's voice, or you just want a place to get started with how he sounds, then please do check that song out. Okay, so we've just got the two left to go now, and this will take us up to so yeah, this has been 40 up to 31. So yeah, we're getting into the top 30 after these two. So these two are both from the 1990s. They are both British groups. They have got a long-standing kind of history and connection with each other, which has kind of been reignited and cemented again at the time of recording in 2025 with a certain reunion that's taken place. It's a very, very big clue. So before we get to the last song, this artist here, who's been solo now for some time, has been a support act to this reunion, playing songs that are featured on this album and this opening track in particular. So this Absolute Beauty of an album originally came out in 1997. I was utterly obsessed with this album and this band when I was 15 years of age, and the record has got a very, very, very important, very strong and powerful place in my heart. It's just one of those albums, and this song in particular, that I will always be there for it. So the album is Urban Hymns. The band is The Verve from Wigan, not too far at all away from where I am. So they were almost like, very much felt like local heroes to me when I was growing up. And the band is The Verve, Urban Hymns, and the song is Bittersweet Symphony, which was a huge smash hit for the group. Topped the charts. Beautiful song. Very famously used an orchestral sample of The Last Time by the Rolling Stones, like a an arrangement of that. So for many, many, many years, there was big disputes over copyright and royalties and that sort of thing. That's all since been resolved now. But for a long, long time, there was money. Money's not going to the Verve. They were actually going to the Stones because of this sample. This piece of orchestral arrangement that is used at the very, very beginning of the track and does very much make it the song that it is. I mean, it is integral to the song, that string part. So there we go. This is the inside here of the album. So you got the track listings there. Got a great photograph of the group there, with the dog there. And there's Richard Ashcroft there, just peeping behind the dog. So yes, he's been part of this reunion that I'll talk about a little later as a support act. Had the pleasure of seeing him at one of the concerts, and he did indeed play Bittersweet Symphony, and it sounded wonderful. Great shot that. Look at that. Brilliant. So Richard Ashcroft here on vocals and guitar. Got the brilliant Nick McCabe over here, one of my all-time favourite guitarists, excellent player, superb player. We got Pete Salisbury on the drums there. Simon Jones here on bass guitar, and then we've got Simon Tong over here on the guitar and keyboards. Great group, so good, brilliant. So yeah, Bittersweet Symphony, just really powerful lyrically. Again, very strong lyrics. It's a bittersweet symphony. Let's Lionel trying to make ends meet. You're a slave to money, then you die. I'll take you down the only road that the only road you've been down, the one that takes you to the places where everything meets. So it's another song for me that's got like a real sense of there's like a sense of helplessness to it. He sings about getting on his knees and praying, and he's singing that he wants to change. I'm hearing my mold. So there's like this kind of reference into I can change. He repeats that almost mantra-esque throughout the song, but I'm hearing my mold. I'm a million different people from one day to the next. So that might be sort of calling to mind, is there some like an identity crisis perhaps going on, or is there just this yearning or longing to be something or aspiring to be something that he's not quite yet become? But then there's almost like this sort of commentary on like materialism as well. Certainly the bit when it sings about you slave to money and then you die, and I think that's a really important line in it, that we should all remember the what's important in life. And maybe that's where the whole bittersweet aspect came from the title as well, in that we always have this constant time in life where things, the good and the bad, need to be taken together, which is where the bittersweet element comes into it. Sometimes things don't always go well. Sometimes one thing can be both things as well. There's aspects of things that can be good and not so good, and they can coexist. So I've always felt lyrically that it was a very powerful message, and Richard Ashcroft's vocals on it are just sublime. I mean, it's my favourite ever performance of Richards as a singer, and he is a wonderful singer. One of my all-time favourites, I should say. But this album lived in my CD player for, my God, it must have been about 2 years, honestly, from the time it came out. And I was listening to other music in and around in the late 90s, of course I was, but a lot of great albums came out in 97, but this one was just pretty much glued. I think it made space every now and again for a couple of others I can think of, but more often than not, I mean, I was listening to this thing every single day at one point. I was really into it, and don't quite listen to it as often as I did, but the songs, the messaging, the power of it, the music, it's all in here. It's an album that's just chock full of great songs, but Bittersweet Symphony as an opener, it's just stirring, it's powerful. That orchestral arrangement is, regardless of all the kind of the controversy that's been, again, I suppose that was very much a bittersweet situation. All of that aside, it is integral to the song. It really does give the track that life and that memorability, and the song itself then is built around that, and it had a really iconic music video to it as well. with Richard Ashcroft, walking down the street, staring right into the camera, barging past people as he's walking along before the rest of the band come into shot at the end, which was a video that will, certainly here in the UK, will live long in the memory of people of my generation and other generations as well. So that's the Verve there with Bittersweet Symphony. Wonderful, wonderful song by a wonderful band. Okay, now finishing us off then. So the reunion I was talking about, I'm sure everybody's going to know this now, as I'm recording this here in 2025. Had the pleasure of going with friends and family to one of the concerts, one of the homecoming concerts over at Heaton Park in Manchester. It was as wonderful and brilliant as I hoped it would be. A very, very special occasion for me and my family and my friends. I saw them several times back in the day. I was fortunate to see them back in the day, but this was a very special reunion indeed, and they did, of course, play this opening track from this album. So the band I'm talking about are Oasis to finish us off today. The album is Definitely Maybe. So came out in 1994, and the the opening track is Rock and Roll Star. So that is my final pick of the batch for this section of the Top 100 Rock and Roll Star. So as you can see here from my copy of the record, it is a limited edition 30th anniversary pressing in the Digsy's Dinner inspired strawberries and cream colour. So I will get that out to show you. Although we're not talking about Digsy's Dinner today, we're talking about Rock and Roll Star. But let's get the album shown to you first, for anybody who might be interested in picking up a pressing of this album. So there's the gatefold there. Try and get all that in. There we go. These are all captioned as well. All this in here, and then the front cover, which still really, really confounds me because the band members are not there. They've left the room. It's one of those photographs because it is so indelibly etched in my brain, the original artwork for it, but when I see them not there, it does still throw me a lot. But I am slowly getting used to it. There's the back, and then we've got the insides here. So we've got King Tut's Wah Wah Hut. So for any Oasis fan, they will know the importance of King Tut's Wah Wah Hut up in Scotland. Got an old set list there, picture there. Picture of one of Liam's tambourines here. And then we've got the picture of the old Les Paul there. The sound of Definitely Maybe, according to the caption, with the accompanying amplification as well. Okay, and then I'll just pull out one of the records here just so you can see this beautiful strawberries and cream inspired Digsy's Dinner pressing. There we go, beautiful that. Love the colour of it. They sound great as well. Listened to it a good few times now, and obviously I was listening to it in the build up to going watching them over at Heaton Park. So yeah, Rock and Roll Star. What an opening track. It's a debut album by Oasis. It is the debut album, I should say. It is an album full of swagger, bravado, belief, optimism. It's a very up record. There's a lot of hope to it. This is a very hungry young band at the start of their career that were very much set on conquering the world and wanted to conquer the world. They were ready to take on all comers. They were not afraid to speak their minds. They were darlings of the press because they gave such great copy. They looked great. They dressed great. And in my opinion, maybe not everybody's, but they sounded great as well. I mean, I've got a lot of friends and family who are hardcore Oasis fans. I love the band to bits. Not my favourite band of all time, because people who tune into me regularly know that that's a certain band from Wales. But Oasis are a group that I love so, so much, and they are very, very much in here. And it was a delightful experience to take my wife along and two nephews to see them in Heaton Park who'd never seen the band before, and to go there with so many of my best friends as well, and to revisit that whole experience, including one of my best friends who lives out in Australia. He came across with his son to take him to see Oasis, and that was just an amazing experience for my friend who I've been to school with to have not seen him for so many years, for him to come over to Manchester to see Oasis with us all the way from Australia was just an amazing, amazing day. Great memories. But that's a digression. Let's get back to Rock and Roll Star. So the reason I love the song so much is because it just sounds very, very uplifting. It's got like a sense of, you know, anything's possible to it. You know, tonight I'm a rock and roll star. It's almost like the message of go and pursue your dreams. You know, no matter how far away they seem. You know, no matter how out of sight it might be. Just believe in yourself and go for it. That's kind of the message I've always taken from Rock and Roll Star. And I think in a lot of ways it's a great note to finish this batch on from a lyrical point of view, because there's been quite a few harrowing lyrics in some of these songs. I feel certainly when I talked about I Am the Cosmos and like Never Let Me Down Again, you know, very dark, a lot going on. You know, Pink Moon as well, when it was written at the time, it was by beg your pardon, from Nick Drake. You know, where he was in his life. So I think as beautiful and as important and how much, I suppose, food for thought and artistic merit those sorts of songs give us from a lyrical point of view, those heavier, more thought-provoking songs. I think as well it's equally important to balance it out with songs that are more hopeful and more optimistic, like a Rock and Roll Star. I do think it's important to have that balance, to get the balance right. And with Bittersweet Symphony as well, again, there is very heavy elements to Bittersweet Symphony, but then again, I always took that mantra, that repeat of I can change, you know. He's telling himself, you know, you can make things happen, you can break the mold if you wish to. So I do think that having Bittersweet and Rock and Roll Star, although not originally planned, it just kind of worked out that way when I did the ranking. They do seem to be very apt, I suppose. You know, to have them together like that has worked out very nicely. So yeah, it's just got great guitar work in it throughout. You know, by Noel Gallagher, of course. Liam's vocal is brilliant throughout. I do say Gallagher, by the way, that, you know, and they're known universally as Gallagher, but it is Gallagher. That's the correct pronunciation. And Liam sounds amazing on it. Really, really striking from the get-go. You can see that he wants this album to make a point. The whole band do. You know, got Tony McCarroll on the drums at this point, you know, pounding away really, really well. Guigsy on bass guitar, Bonehead on rhythm guitar as well. You know, the five of them are just all at it, going for it, and trying to get the world to fall at their feet. So yeah, just a great song, Rock and Roll Star. It is my favourite ever Oasis album, definitely, maybe. I don't think they ever topped it, in my opinion. It is just a stunning album, that, and one that takes me right back. I mean, I was like 12 years old when that came out, and Oasis for me at that time were just so exciting. You always wonder what they were going to do next. You know, it became like an event to collect their singles, which I did back in the day. You know, bought them all on CD. Their B-sides were always superb as well. You know, arguably one of the best B-sides bands, I think, that have ever gone, that have ever existed. You know, that the B-side quality was so strong. So yeah, just a great group for me, and having that chance to go and see them in Manchester after all these years, after they'd split up, you know, it was a nice chance to relive my youth a bit, and also to share it with some new people as well who haven't seen them before. Okay, so that's that then. I think that's a good note to end on. I felt like that was quite a full on session, that one. I'm not sure what time I've clocked in at here, but if you're still here and you've listened to all of that, I am so grateful. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed. I'm already looking forward to doing part 8 as and when I can get to it. So the only thing I'd like to ask at this stage is, if you enjoyed the video today, please do give it a like. It really does help the channel. It helps the video to perform on YouTube, so that people can see it and get an opportunity to connect with what I'm doing here at the Vinyl Sanctuary. If you are new to the channel and you enjoyed what I did today, and maybe you'd like to check out other videos I've done, take refuge in records, then you may consider, or you may wish to consider, subscribing to the channel as well. I'd be so grateful and appreciative if you did. If you do that, then please do remember to click the notification bell, and that will give you alerts as to when I've got new content landing. So I will be back with part 8 as quickly as I can. Can't give any promises on timelines at the moment at the time of recording. I'm just trying to record and upload as and when I've got the availability to do so. But as I've mentioned before on previous videos in the series, I won't be looking at any other subjects regarding vinyl or music in general until this series has all been sewn up. So I've still got 3 parts left to do, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Please do comment on this video. Let me know what your picks would be for this stage of the series if you've been playing along. Let me know what you think of what I've had to say about the songs I've picked. Do you agree or disagree with any of the lyrical interpretations that I put forward? Do you have your own perspectives on the songs? Are there any songs that are maybe new listens for you? You know, just let me know. I always enjoy so much conversing with people in the comments and having the opportunity to share knowledge and to gain knowledge from other people as well. So I think that's pretty much me all done and dusted now. So until next time, everybody, thank you very much. Take care and bye for now.